Um, I don't think they'd let you even train to do that now.
Mm.
So I had knee problems and back problems, and there's three things plumbers get, which is knee problems, back problems, and divorces. And I ended up with all three. So well, I've always had back problems for a very early age. About 8, I was helping my dad concreting, and he was doing a driveway down between the two houses, and I was pushing the wheelbarrow, and I was a tough little devil. So I actually didn't want to sort of let him down or anything. So I was lifting things far heavier than I should have done. And so I can remember by the age of 16 having to go to a doctor with back problems. And then it just carried on from there. And as a plumber, you're on your back everywhere, under baths, you know, your feet over the toilet. And I was very good at yoga when I took that up, because I'd already got that flexibility of being able to twist and turn. So at the age of 38, I'd have to come out of the career. So I did a bit of DIY mainly first, because I renovated a cottage when I was 19, and then did a house up and so on. So by the age of 38, I was diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis and arthritis of the spine. And I couldn't really do anything physical anymore. And even I got jobs sort of repping and things like that. And if I got out of a car after an hour drive, I'd be bent over for about 5 minutes, you know, trying to get back up really slowly. And if I did it too fast, it nipped a nerve and pulled me down again. And it was pretty bad. And then 11 years ago, I trained in NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. That's easy for me to say. And hypnotherapy. And I'd always been interested in hypnotherapy from a very young age, but I never got around to doing it. And I went on a training course, and there was a technique they did on one of these training courses. And when they explained it to us, I thought I'll use it on my back. But I didn't like the way they described it. So I changed it even before I used it. And it worked on me and got me out of pain. I've been free of pain now for 11 years. There were about 40 people in the room who used this technique for various things: stopping eating chocolate, stopping eating smoking, all sorts of different things. And the next morning, I was the only one where it still worked. But I've been pain-free for 11 years now, and I'm 69 now, and I've just renovated a bungalow. I worked that hard on it that I actually had to buy some new shirts, because I was so muscly that I couldn't fit in the 2 or 3 shirts, my good shirts, from doing all these renovations. The way it works is it's not numbing the area. Now, as a hypnotherapist, you get trained to either dial the pain down or to numb the area. And I didn't think that was a very good idea, because it's all about safety. So I'm going to explain about pain and how it works. So I've got so many scars on my knuckles from doing things and twisting and taking a chunk off, you know, and you just bite it off and wrap it up and it's gone within a few days. So when we actually touch something hot or sharp, we get pain. And this is a survival skill. This is acute pain. So we have what we call a knee-jerk reaction. You touch something hot or sharp and you pull your hand back straight away. Now, there is a split second in there where it goes, is it a good idea to pull your hand back? Or is there something sharp the other side of it that's going to be even worse? So even though it looks instant, there is a decision to be made there, not in your conscious mind, but in your unconscious, to say, is it safe to pull my hand back? When you pull your hand back, the urgency goes from the pain. So initially, it's really sharp pain and it feels urgent. You move your hand and now you look at what the damage is. So you look down, you go, have I cut it? Have I burnt it? What's it like? And your eyes cut in and they notice the damage. Now, if you've ever done something where there's a lot of blood, you have far more pain than when there isn't. Because the brain goes, I could bleed to death. And then it goes, you'll need a lot of pain, go off to the hospital. But if it's just a small cut and you look at it, you go, I'll put a plaster on that, or I'll just wrap it up in a bit of kitchen towel or something. So pain is this wonderful thing. Now, it's meant to be annoying. This is the whole thing. Nobody likes pain, Pain is meant to be annoying because pain is a message to do something. So initially it's move your hand from that sharp thing. Secondly, it's you've got some damage there, go to the hospital with it or put Elastoplast on it. And then about 12 weeks later, acute pain turns into chronic pain. Now, chronic pain is literally the doctor saying, you shouldn't have it now. I don't know what it is, but you shouldn't have it now. And so some people will say, well, it's because I've got scar tissue and it's tight and it hurts. Or I've got a plate where I broke my arm, I've got a plate and there's pins in it. And when it gets cold in winter, I can feel it and it hurts a lot. And all these reasons are reasons why your body thinks it's a good idea to keep the pain going. So it sends this message out, it's called chronic pain. And I came out with the idea that scientists and everything else, doctors, you go to them and they say, okay, you've got pain. There's nothing you can do about it. So it's sending you a message to do something about it, but there's nothing you can do about it. And then they prescribe things that will cut the pain level down. So you get a tablet. So your brain's making pain level. Imagine it's a level 8 pain. You get this level 8 pain. Well, that's your brain saying, if I don't give you this level 8, you won't do anything about it. So the moment you take painkillers, if it did drop down below 8, your brain is now fighting with it saying, I wanted you to have an 8. It's dropped to a 6. So it turns it up to 11. Just so you get the 8 back again. Because it's protecting you with it. Now, I worked out pretty quickly, it's pretty stupid to send a message out and then find chemical ways to actually shrink that message down. Because as a therapist, I know I can talk people out of thinking a certain way. And if the body thinks it's unsafe, it will give you pain. If it thinks it's safe, it doesn't need to give you pain. So I thought, well, why don't I talk to them, get their body to recognize that instead of it thinking it's protecting you, I'll get it to understand it's not protecting you. In fact, it's harming you. Because if you've got a backache at, say, level 8 pain, and a tumor came along that's nothing to do with that area, but it's in that area, it would have to be a 9 before you felt it, because you've already got pain there. So instead of being a survival system where you go, oh, I've got a level 1 pain in my back, I don't know what that is, I better get it checked out, it's a 9 before you even know about it. Not good at all. So I designed a way of talking to people to find out what I think is holding them back. And I'm very good at getting people to tell me the story without often them knowing what the story is. They just tell me it in a way that I go, can you see why you're holding on to the pain? And pain, physical pain, is the same neural pathways as emotional pain. And once I learned that, I created this thing called Old Pain to Go. So everything I'd learned from helping people with anxiety, I was able to help them with the physical side of pain just from everything I'd learned from that. And the same the other way around. So everything I'd learned from physical pain, I was now able to help them with emotional pain. And it's just slightly different how the brain knows. So you know the difference between, if you've lost a loved one or if you've broken your leg. But the pain is, the intensity of the pain can be just as bad for either. And quite often, and our language is very important, quite often if we say, I can't cope with this, I can't cope with this. You've lost a loved one and you just walk around for days on end, I can't cope with this, I can't cope with this. That's a signal to your brain to actually say, shut me down. It's almost like stop the world, I want to get off. And the best way to do that is make you ill. Put you in a coma, make you drop to the floor unconscious or whatever, you get rushed in hospital, and then everybody looks after you. Yeah, you get everybody fanning around after you then. And then you're getting that, whereas if you just went around saying, I lost my mum or whatever, people would eventually stop talking to you because they'd go, I don't know what to do. She keeps telling me she's lost her mum and it hurts me and I don't want to talk to her, so I go upset and then I upset her. So it sometimes turns into physical pain. So when I work with somebody, I have a very quick saying I say at the beginning of every time I work with somebody. And it's this: briefly tell me what the problem is. Now, you might want to adapt this to customers when they ask you what job you want doing. Or else they go, oh, I'm thinking of a bit of green up there, and could you do the skirting? If you say briefly, what work do you want? Yeah, they've got all this thing that they've stacked up in their head, and the conscious can't filter it down. So the unconscious cuts in, and they start telling you the most important things first. So you get an overall picture of it. So I say, briefly tell me what the problem is. Somebody will then start to tell me things. Quite often they say, I don't know why I'm telling you this. So just think about that. If somebody says to me, I don't know why you're telling me this, that's their conscious mind going, I got a feeling I've got to tell him this, but I don't know why. It doesn't seem relevant, but it's very relevant to me, because when I hear it, I go, that's the problem. So once I find the story or several stories, I get rid of them for people. And sometimes we can't find the story, in which case I say, look, you know, we spent some time, we tried to find the story, can't find it. You can either stay in this pain or you can let go of it today. Which do you want to do? I just give them that simple option and they'll go, well, let's get rid of it. And this is all you ever do with anybody as a therapist, whether that's anxiety, whether it's physical pain, depression, rashes, period pains, menopause, anything. And I can deal with all those types of things, because it's not what can you do with a technique, it's what can the unconscious mind do that it's not currently doing right. And that's what we're after doing. It's sort of saying, hello there, do you know you're not running this right? I don't like this thing you're doing. Can you sort it out, please? Yeah. And it gives it that opportunity, but you have to tell it all the things you need it to know, so it makes a different decision. So if I just said to somebody, I want your unconscious to throw that pain away, it wouldn't work. I have to tell them why it's necessary to get rid of the pain, why it's not protecting them, and why it's better not to have the pain there anymore. And the main reason is that chronic pain disguises new pain in the same area. So it's got to be safer to be free of pain from chronic pain than it is to keep it. So even things like arthritis, anything that deteriorates, once you know you've got it, you don't need reminding every day with pain. So I got into trouble with the Advertising Standards Authority once because I mentioned arthritis on my website. And they wrote to me and said, we've got 2 complaints about you from somebody, anonymous. I think it was another practitioner. And one of them was, you're encouraging people not to go to the doctors. Well, all over my website, it says you have to see a doctor before you can see me, because I'm not medically trained. And then it said, and you're mentioning arthritis. And I've got about 40 odd pages on my website. So I went through the whole lot, and I deliberately don't put what I help people with. So I wrote back to them and said, I can't find it. I've looked up and down. And they said, it's on the page where you offer training. And I said, what does it say? And they said, what you said was arthritis is the easiest thing you deal with. And I wrote back and said, well, it is. And they said, but you can't prove that. I said, I can. I was at an event. I gave a talk for about an hour. I got towards the end of it, 10 minutes before the end. I knew the other person would be coming in as a speaker. I'd literally got 10 minutes, no longer. And I said, oh, I think I've just got enough time to help somebody. Has anybody here got arthritis? And please come out. 6 people walked out. And I didn't have the time to send them back. I only wanted 1. And strangely, there were 6 chairs laid out at the front from the previous speaker. So I got them on the 6 chairs and I just went down them and I was working them all together. And in 10 minutes, I got 6 people out of arthritis. And I've got that on video. So it starts with, what pain are you in? And like some's like in a 4, some's in a 5, some's in 8. The woman at the end says 11. I said, it's out of 10, you know. She went, yeah, it's 11. So at the end, excuse me, At the end, everybody was down to 0, apart from this woman who added the 1 on again. And she was 1. So literally, I got everybody out of pain in 10 minutes, 6 people from arthritis. And so people will say things to me like, I've got arthritis, I don't think you can help me. Shall I go and ask my doctor? And I go, well, you can do, but you won't come and see me if you do. Why not? Well, the last 400 people your doctor saw with arthritis, he gave them some tablets and told them it would get worse and worse and worse until they die, and it did. The last 400 people I've seen with arthritis, every single one of them went away with no pain. That's why we're different. I just got a way of doing this and they haven't. So who do you want to listen to? The person that can't do it, telling you I shouldn't be able to do it as well, or do you want to listen to me? And hopefully it will work. So I can't guarantee it because I'm working with the person, not on them. And both Gary and I trained in hypnotherapy, but I stopped using trance. So I don't put anybody into a trance now when I work with them. I literally talk to somebody and I'll say, okay, I'm going to talk to you unconscious now. And they go, what? And I go, it doesn't matter, you can listen. And I usually say, close your eyes. And the only reason we say close your eyes is because you get a lot of information from a room. So if somebody moves, it distracts you and it takes you away from what you're thinking and so on. So I just I ask them to close their eyes and I do some work with them. And then I have this little technique where I ask the unconscious to do something and then open the eyes for them when it's completed the task. And this means that they stay there for a while. And I haven't said, I've frozen your eyes. I don't do any tricks with people. This is literally, I want your unconscious to do this for you, install this program. And when it's done, it'll open your eyes and you'll come back in the room. And so after either a few seconds or a few minutes, people come back into the room, they open their eyes and they have a look around. They usually smile. Some people burst into tears. Never had anybody burst into flames yet. And so they look around and then they check themselves out. And I've had people who had back problems so bad they couldn't bend at all. And then they bend over double immediately straight afterwards and no pain at all. So it looks miraculous, and Gary will back me up on this. It feels miraculous. It feels wonderful to do it. It's the most lovely job in the world because you get to see people in agony and then you get to see them out of it. And if you like helping people, what better is there in the world than that?
What's amazing as well, Stephen, is a lot of it can be done in, well, I know you only work in one session, don't you? Whether it's 1 hour or 5 hours or whatever it may be, but general kind of pain, arthritis, or, everybody, the clients I saw, I helped in one session.
Yes.
Which is amazing.
And this is the beauty of it. So some people ring me up. Now, I'm obviously the guy that created this, so I charge quite a bit of money if somebody wants to see me. So I charge 240 quid for a session, but they only come and see me once and the pain goes. Well, that's got to be worth 240 quid to get rid of your pain. And I have people who ring me up and say, oh, Stephen, that's a lot of money. And I go, oh, why? Well, I've been seeing an acupuncturist for the last 5 years and he only charges me £60 a week. And I go, and you've still got the problem and you're coming to me. I haven't got a calculator, but I think if you times 5 years by 60 quid a week, I think it's a lot more than 240 quid. Oh, I see what you mean. So that's what I do. Obviously, a lot of people are cheaper than me. But that's what I do. And it came from me helping people out of anxiety. And helping people out of anxiety is a similar process. When you have anxiety, what you've got is like, imagine a fire alarm, but the fire alarm's halfway on. Imagine we're all in the same building now, and there's a fire alarm, but it's ringing at about half the volume. Now, we'd all be confused, wouldn't we? We'd all be going, should we leave? Is it? And it won't seem urgent enough to leave, but it doesn't seem safe. So we'll all sit around chatting to each other. Now, eventually, if you don't take notice of pain, it's like a fire alarm, but it turns up, it gets louder. So if you think of a fire alarm only has one message: get out of here or you'll die. And it's such a strong message, we have to be taught as kids not to run, so we don't end up in a pile in the doorway. So it's like, oh, get out quickly, but don't run and don't take your bags with you. Yeah, so we have to be trained for it. But when you've got chronic pain, it's like they've left the fire alarm on at a level. And most fire alarms, when they come out and done it, they reset it. And it works at a level where you don't even know it's on. Yeah. And if you've got chronic pain, you've literally got this level of pain ringing. And it's of no good to you whatsoever, because it's saying, I want you to do something about this. And yet your doctor's saying, well, there's nothing we can do about it, just take the painkillers. And I'm saying, yes, you can do something about it. You can talk to your brain and you can say, I don't need this. It's not helpful. In fact, it's harming me. So I want you to stop doing it. And when it stops doing it, it's instant. And this is the beauty of it. It's not, come along, I'll do 6 sessions and then we'll leave it 3 months and we'll find out. It literally is, you know, before they go. And the beauty then is, if there's a little bit of pain left or something, you can tweak it. So every last bit of pain goes before they go. So it's a really beautiful thing to do. Is anybody here in pain today?
Let me unmute.
All right, okay.
Susan.
David and Beverly, could you open up your videos, please? So I can see you.
Right, Susan, you can chat now. I've unmuted you.
So Susan, you've got some pain.
Well, it's more aching, really. Just like you said at the beginning, when you sort of have sat down for a while and you get up and you're just so achy. But I've got I've just recently had MRI scan on my back. I've got a history of spondylolisthesis. I had a fusion when I was 11.
Oh, wow.
And I've got it in a different place further down my spine. And I've got also
planning to do this time.
Sorry?
What are they planning to do this time?
I don't know. I'm waiting for a neurosurgery appointment.
I would suggest, I'm going to help you tonight, because fusing the spine is a very natural process that the body can do.
I think it's doing it.
Right. Well, what happens is, in fact, I've got a model here. Your spine has a beautiful bend in it, like an S shape. And the idea is that if you put pressure on it, it's going to bend a little bit from lots of places. Now, if you injure your back when you're younger, you get the 2 bones there will lock themselves together with the muscles initially.
Yeah.
And they'll sort of trap it and hold it until it gets better.
Yeah.
But the back is notorious for having a bad blood supply anyway. So it takes a long time to repair it. And when you're in pain, you tense up. So you're adding to the pressure in that meat around everything that then goes, well, I can't get much blood at all through here. So it doesn't heal very well. So what happens is you get that locked up. Now, if I just wobble this, can you see where the weakness is? It goes either side of that now. So what's happening is, because that doesn't do 100% of what it can do, this one has to do 50% more, and this one has to do 50% more. So they get weak, and they'll do that eventually.
Yeah.
Now, when you get that, this is why we have pain. You get the sharp edge of that V, where the nerves come out through it and it nips them. And this is when you can't straighten up and you go, oh.
Yeah.
And the back of it, it bulges out and it presses on a wide range of nerves. So you get a dull ache rather than a sharp pain. Yeah. So sharp is small area, dull ache is wide area.
Yeah.
And that's all that happens. So you get both in the same bit. If you get something fused, or if your body does it for yourself, it then weakens these, and eventually these will tighten up. And then this tightens up. And then before long, after many years, the whole of the spine gets tense. So it's like doing that.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you something, I'll explain something you've never heard an explanation before in your life. When you overdo something one day and you think, oh, I got away with that, I'm all right. The next day, you pick up a little bit of paper from the tabletop and your back goes out. And you go, just a minute, I did this really strenuous thing yesterday and I was all right. And I've picked up a bit of paper today and I've hurt me back. And the reason is that what happens when we use the muscles that we haven't used for a while and we tighten them up, it's next day before they get fully tight. So you've now got it tight anyway. You then fully tighten it up. And then when you twist and turn to get the bit of paper, it snaps. So that's why that happens. So I'm going to do some work on you today that will get rid of the tension in your spine. And you might even find when you go for your scans that you don't need the things that you're going to go for. And we'll find out then, because you'll be able to, they'll go, what's happened here? And you'll go, oh, I know somebody. Who else has got pain? John has. If
Yeah,
you
I
unmute
do.
yourself, John. Or does Gary need to unmute? Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Years ago, I went on a training course, like a company training course. And one of the things they asked us to do was walk on a bed of coals, you know.
Right, hot cold.
Is what you do very similar? Like they just spoke to us, and
Yeah, it's not.
or is it a circuit thing? What they did?
Yeah, the body is amazing, and there's a thing called life force or life energy.
The guy spoke to me and what have you, and I walked across hot coals.
Yeah, it's not what I do, because that could be dangerous if you know, it's sort of a bit of fun, really.
Right.
It's a thing called chi energy.
Right.
We can put energy into certain parts of the body and it protects it. And it's a whole different thing. It's way beyond science. And martial artists do it, things like that. Now, I went to the training that I went on for NLP and hypnotherapy, and the lad there brought some arrows. And he trained us how to put an arrow against that bit of your throat. And then he had a board on his chest, and we leant forward it and he shattered an arrow on that bit of the throat. Well, if you just press there now, that bloody hurts, even slightly. And yet all of us did it and broke the arrow.
Right.
It's pretty weird.
Yeah, my friends have been doing that recently.
Oh, it's a really strange thing.
Yeah.
And you can either do it through bringing this energy in there that sort of makes it solid, or you can do it by relaxing. And this guy did it by relaxing. And you wouldn't think it would do it by relaxing, but it did. Yeah. But what I do is perfectly logical. It's saying that you've got a protective structure here called pain. It's not a protective structure after 12 weeks when it becomes chronic pain. And therefore, you can decide to let go of it. And usually I have to find a good reason to convince your body to go, you're right. I'm safe now. I don't need to do this. I thought of a good analogy this morning. You'll all work up scaffolding at some point in your life. And you know, when there's a handrail there, you walk up and down the planks like it's nothing, like you're on the floor. But if somebody removes the handrail, even though you're not going near it, you walk up there and you'll be tense, because you're thinking, I mustn't lean back, I mustn't do that, I mustn't. And pain's very much like that. It's protecting you by tensing you up. But tensing you up often gives you pain. And then if you get pain and tension, you get inflammation in there. And then the three work together. It just gets into a vicious cycle. Yeah. So do you have any pain, John?
Yeah, shoulder.
Shoulder. And how long you had that?
Apart from the wife, shoulder.
Yeah, no. We've heard all those jokes before.
Yeah.
John,
No.
how did you do that?
Sorry?
How did you do it? How long ago?
Oh, I've had it for years. I just sort of live with it. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you I did this and it happened, or
Okay.
it's just,
Is it your brush hand?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Do you like what you do?
Love it.
Yeah, good. Okay. I'll work on you as well. Jorgen or Jorgen. How do you pronounce it?
Sorry, I just had to unmute myself. Yeah, again.
Yeah, have you got pain?
Yeah, multiple places. Neck, I've got some wear and tear in the neck, which causes all sorts of issues.
Yeah.
Lower back, broke it when I was playing rugby, 18.
Right.
So I've got a bit of bone missing near the base, and cartilage has gone in both my knees.
Wow. And did when you hurt your back at rugby, did it stop you playing rugby?
Yes.
Okay. I can sort you out.
Good.
Beverly, have you got something?
Yeah, I have quite a few pains that seem to be ongoing.
Okay. And that is
I
what?
think
Can we
my
not
neck.
see you? I'm sure you're very
No,
pretty.
not at this moment, no.
Have
Sorry.
you got your makeup on?
I'm literally with my daughter, so she's just
Alright.
hopping on and off, trying to be nosy and stuff like that.
Okay.
But yeah, neck pain. I had a silly argument with one of my god brothers, and I had like a kind of impact on the back of my neck in the cinema. So it literally it's like whiplash, some kind of hit like that at the back of my neck, just underneath the curve.
And was that a deliberate thing or just a joking thing that went wrong?
It was just silly play fighting, and it was like he tied up a scarf,
Yeah.
my scarf, and he tied it so much that he pulled it between his legs, his foot. So I would have to like try and pull it away, and I literally
Right.
hit the back of my head with the cinema seat.
Okay.
So that's like a hard impact. And then I think during the time when I was working, I used to be a hairdresser, work in the salon. I was pregnant at the time. I think there's some kind of tension or inflammation from being heavily pregnant and standing on my feet for long hours of time at a time.
Did you like that job?
No, I hated hairdressing.
Right. Okay. Quite often when we're in a job we hate, the body will kick off and make us have aches and pains to stop us going there. In the same way that I pretended to have stomachache to get off school some days. But by the time the mum came to fetch me, I did literally have stomachache. I thought I was good at predicting it, but it was my body going, you can't fool your mother. I better give you a proper stomachache. Yeah, I can help you as well. And David, have you got anything? Or are you not there, David? Yeah, probably not. Okay, so just understand, all I want from you is a firm yes when I say, are you willing to let go of the pain?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. It needs to be really good and strong, because this is a message going from your conscious through to your subconscious. And subconscious means it's under your command. So now you understand pain. You understand that you need to get pain initially. When it's acute pain, it's a good idea, even though you don't like it, because it makes you step away from those things. Up to 12 weeks, you can get diagnosed and get it sorted out. And after 12 weeks, it's absolutely not necessary at all. Now, Jorgen, you did yours at rugby. And what I'm going to say is, you might have had, it might have been a real shock to your system, and you might have even thought you were going to die. Does that ring any bells?
It was quite painful. I've actually had worse injuries than that, so it doesn't bother me particularly.
Okay. But what happens is, and I dealt with a guy once, he was 76, and he came to see me, and he'd been in pain since he was 19, and he injured himself in a rugby match and hadn't played since. And I said, okay, did you get winded? And he said, how the bloody hell do I know that? It's like 59 years ago. And I went, well, how did it happen? Did somebody run into you? And he went, oh, somebody rammed me in the stomach. Oh, yes, I did. I collapsed on the floor. I couldn't breathe. So in that moment of not being able to breathe, his body went, if you keep playing rugby, you're going to get yourself killed. So the great thing about the body is it doesn't tell you not to do things because it's not allowed to, but it drops hints. So it gives you a backache. So you go, well, I'd love to carry on with rugby, but I've got a bad back now and I can't do it. And then you don't die. So it's done you a real favor. So I'm just going to get you to say, are you ever going to play rugby again? And the answer is no, by the way.
No.
No. Okay. So now that you've got a no, you're not going to play rugby again. It doesn't have to protect you with that old backache, that back pain, to stop you going back to rugby.
Yes.
Beverly, I want you to understand this thing was an accident, not good, but you can let go of it now. Are you happy to let go of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. John, are you the same? Are you ready to let go?
I'd love to.
Yeah. And Susan? Okay. David, did you have any pain? You're going to have to get closer, mate.
I've had a scaffold board fall in my head about a year and a half ago. My
Wow.
back's been the same since. So
It has been giving you pain since.
yeah, not pain. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So do you, had you done anything wrong, or was it just one of those way out accidents that you couldn't have helped? Were you not being careful?
I've had a labourer. I had a labourer that dropped the board while I was looking up, and it was about 10 metres up, and it just dropped bang on my head. So
Okay. So what you've got there is a pain that reminds you there's idiots at work. That's what the pain's for. There's idiots
Yeah.
at work. Be careful out there.
yeah,
So you can either have pain for the rest of your life, or you can just remember there's idiots at work. Are you happy to just remember there's idiots at work?
I definitely know there's idiots at work. Yeah.
Good. Okay. So I'm going to do a treatment on you all. Gary, have you got anything? I doubt it, but have you got anything?
I'm okay. I'm good.
Okay, we're going to do a nice little trick, and it's called an idiomotor response. So I want you to stand up. I want you to turn sideways to the camera. And what you're going to do is, you're not going to bend from the waist, you're going to bend just from the ankles, but really slowly. So just allow the weight of your body to just tilt you forward. Now, really slowly, really slowly. Feel the weight on your toes. Get it to the point where it nearly lifts your heel off, right? And then you can go back. You okay with that? Right. So that's you and your thinking brain, the conscious mind. Now we're going to set a yes up with your unconscious mind. So I just want you to stand there again, but this time you're not moving. You're going to stay still. You're not going to resist it, but you're not going to help it. And I'm going to ask your unconscious to set up a yes signal by moving you forward on its own. So you just stay and wait for it. Ask for a yes in your head. Just say, give me a yes. And you'll notice that you start to lean forward. Let me know when you've got that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody not got that? Yeah. Okay. John's got it as well. Yeah. Okay.
Jürgen,
Straighten yourself back
Jürgen,
up.
have you got it? Did you get it?
John's got it. Beverly's got it.
Jürgen didn't.
Did he not? Did you not get it?
I got it.
Right, okay. We'll just do that again. So just wait there. Just soften up. Get really relaxed. And just in your head, say, give me a yes. Give me a really strong yes. And it will push you forward nearly off your feet. Yeah. No, we might not get that from you. You're a big, strong guy, you see, and you've got all these muscles. Okay. Just play along with this because it might still work anyway. So now I'm going to say to your unconscious, you agreed you wanted to be free of the pain. I want your unconscious to give you a yes if it's willing to get rid of that pain. Ask for a yes and wait for it. Get it nearly to push you off your feet.
Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant. And then one last one. I want your unconscious now to give you a yes once it's turned the pain off. Just ask for a yes and wait for it to push you. A really good strong push. And as soon as you got that good yes, take a seat again for me, please. Okay. Okay. Now, obviously, what I do on mass is different to what I do when I've got somebody here with me and they're paying for a treatment, and I've got a lot more time to go through the story and everything else with them. And also with Jorgen, that I would spend some time with you to get you to yes, so you knew it was a yes. But we're going to go with this now. So I just want you to sit back in your chair and relax and just close your eyes for a few minutes. So all I'm going to ask you to do now is with your unconscious mind. So you don't need to understand it or do anything. This is me instructing your unconscious. I want you to relax, relax, and totally relax. And in that relaxed state, I want your unconscious to scan your body looking for any tension anywhere that shouldn't be there. Now, everywhere you've got an injury, it will have tightened up over that time to protect it. And so it might even be what they call knotted. It just means the muscle screws round a bit like elastic band if you keep twisting it. And the best way to undo it is to actually tighten it up a little bit first and then undo it. So in a moment, under my directions, I'm going to get your unconscious to scan your body. You don't have to do anything manually. It'll scan your body, it will find the tight bits and it will tighten them up a little bit just for a couple of seconds, then it will let go of them and they'll go back to the relaxed state. So here we go now, just with the unconscious mind. You don't need to do anything, just with the unconscious mind, scanning the body now, looking for tension anywhere that shouldn't be there. And when it finds it, it's really going to tighten it up tight, 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 just for a couple of seconds. And then it lets it go nice and slowly and gently and relaxed. You all did that perfectly. We're going to do it twice more. Scanning the body now, looking for any tension anywhere. And as soon as your body finds it, it's going to tighten it up really tight, 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 just for a couple of seconds. And it lets it go nice and slowly, gently and relaxed. And then one last time, scanning the body, looking for any tension anywhere that shouldn't be there. When it finds it, it's going to tighten it up tight, tight, tight. And then it lets it go nice and slowly and gently and relaxed. And I want your body now to update your muscle memory to the full range of movements you had before there were ever any problems. And when we injure part of the body, the other side actually develops in a different way, so we get out of balance. So I want your body to go back into perfect balance and alignment as soon as it's safe and effective to do so. Now we're just going to finish off with draining every last bit of old pain, inflammation and tension from your body. So just sit there quietly and allow your unconscious to scan your body, looking for pain, inflammation and tension. Everywhere it finds it, it will let go. It will do that for you. You don't have to do anything. So scanning now in the head, looking for pain, inflammation and tension and letting go, dropping down through the neck, through the shoulders, down the arms, through the elbows, lower arms, wrists, hand, fingers out onto the floor. That pain, inflammation and tension in the shoulders, letting go. Going down the spine, the whole of the back, the chest, the abdomen, the hips, the legs, the knees, the ankles and the toes. And when every last bit of old pain, inflammation and tension has left your body, only then your eyes will open automatically and you'll come back in the room. Please allow that for as long as it takes. I'll talk to Gary meanwhile.
Yeah, cheers, Stephen.
No
Like I
problem.
say, it's difficult to do it en masse, isn't it?
Yeah, I do it on a regular basis. I just need to make people understand that because I'm not doing a one-to-one with them, it might work, it might not, it might last, it might not. If it does, brilliant. If not, you know where I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's about the client knowing that they've done the work, not me. So I don't actually do anything to them. So once people work out that they're in charge of their own pain, you know, your whole life changes. My life is so good now. And I spent most of it in pain. Well, I say from the age of 8 until I'm trying to work out 11 years now. So what would that be? 58, 8 to 58, 50 years of pain.
I remember you saying about when you had a toothache and
Oh, yeah.
you booked an appointment, you had it set on the Saturday, you'd booked an appointment for Monday. So you spoke to your unconscious, said, look, give me a break. Let's switch it off. I've booked it, you know, you've given me the warning and you switched it off.
Yeah. Now, it was interesting because I've done it before where I've given it a date and then I wasn't able to arrive there on the date and it gave me it back too early. So on that occasion, I actually said, it might take until Tuesday, give me until Tuesday night. I managed to get in on the Monday. I saw the dentist. The dentist, I'd smashed a tooth. So I go in, the dentist goes, you must be in agony. And I go, no, I'm not actually. Why aren't you in agony? I said, well, I turn pain off for a living. And they were like, what? It just blew them away. So they said, well, you've got to have 2 teeth out. But we can do one now and one when you come back with your ordinary dentist instead of the emergency one. Or you can have both done by your normal dentist. So I said, oh, I'll wait and have both done together, thinking it'd be cheaper and easier. And I went down to book it in and they said, oh, it's going to be 3 months until, you know, Henry comes back from his holidays or whatever. And I went, but I'm in agony. And the woman went, you're not, are you? Because I was smiling. And I went, well, I turn pain off for a living. I thought, oh God, I'm trying to tell a 16-year-old receptionist that I should be in pain, but I'm not. So I managed to get it for 11 days time. And that's the best they could do for me. So I went home, and of course, I'm still not in pain. So Tuesday, when I said, turn it off till Tuesday, on Tuesday, the pain comes back. So I get this raging toothache on the Tuesday. And it's like 8 out of 10 pain. And I'm a bit of a baby. So I went, oh my God. So I said, well, we know what it is now. So I'm going to turn it off. And I went to turn it off. And my brain went, no. And I went, just a minute. You turned it off so I could go to the dentist. And now we know what it is. Now I'm having 2 extractions. You're not going to turn it off. And yet these nerves won't even be there in 11 days. I want you to turn it off. And it wouldn't. And I said, oh, I know what this is. What you're thinking is, if I get an infection under the tooth, if I didn't feel pain, I could have this raging infection that could be poisoning me and it could even kill me. Is it that? And it went, yes. And I said, okay, I want you to turn the pain off. And I promise you that every time at the last morsel of a meal, I go upstairs and I'll brush my teeth and I'll rinse out with an antiseptic toothwash. Will you turn the pain off? It went, yes. I went, I love you. And my body started to cry. I had no sensation of crying. My unconscious cried through me because I said, I love you. Your unconscious keeps you alive and we'd never even think it. So I got this wonderful thing that happened to me. But he just turned it off again for me. But here's what happened. Trudy made me some beans on toast. I ate it. When I swallowed the last morsel, 8 out of 10 pain came instantly back. I ran up the stairs. I brushed my teeth. I rinsed out with an antiseptic mouthwash. I spat it in the bowl and the pain went away again. It did that every meal for 11 days.
Amazing.
You have to be careful what you tell it. Yeah. Yeah.
I did it. I had exactly, well, sort of did exactly the same thing a couple of years ago regarding teeth. I had an abscess on my tooth, and like you, I had raging toothache. And obviously you book for the dentist and they can't sit in God knows how long. So I went down to the chemist because they suggested to go to the chemist and they'll give you some paracetamol and ibuprofen and tell you what to do to kill the pain or help. And I took it, and obviously it nulled the pain, and then it started to come back. And I did actually tell myself, please stop the pain. I don't want this anymore.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
And I will say, I'm not just like playing along. It did work.
Yeah, absolutely. And people don't realize this. I had lots of people insulting me when I first did this because it's like, oh, there's no science behind it. I've looked up the science recently.
I can't do it from the shoulder, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. How's everybody got on, by the way? Have all your pains gone? Have you still got anything?
Yeah, a bit, yeah. A bit achy, yeah.
Right, okay. So it's quite probably not pain now. It's probably just a dull ache or something. Yeah? Would you like to get rid of that? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. There's a little technique I invented called off you go now. Yeah, now it has to be said in the right way, but it's based on this idea. If we try and let go of something and we go, and we fight it. I don't want this. We're all tensed up. Yeah. If we pretend to ignore it, I don't want that, but I'm not even going to admit it's there. We're all tensed up. So if we've got something within us and it's a sensation, first of all, we take the label away. Don't call it pain. Don't call it tension. Don't call it, it feels like a knife stabbing me. Take all those descriptive terms away and just see it as a sensation. And then focus on that sensation and just out loud, just say, off you go now, but really slowly and gently. Now, to do it, I'm going to show you, you need to really soften up, and I'll just give me a few seconds and I'll do it. Off you go now. Or would it be like that? If it's off you go now, you're too tense, yeah? And just that relaxation on its own, just that command, off you go now. It's sort of saying, I've recognized you. So you're saying to your brain, I know you're giving me the sensation, but I don't know what you want me to do with it. So it can go. If it's really serious, you'd come back and you'd tell me what it is. Yeah. So just try that now for me. Just any of you, just focus on any sensation, even if it's a little bit of bum ache from watching me for a few minutes. Just focus on that sensation. Take away any name for it. It's just a sensation, and just say to it, and you need to say it out loud so I can hear you. So off you go now.
You go now.
Yeah. Just soften it by joining it all together if you can, Susan. Off
you go now.
That's brilliant. Now, it's not a repeat thing. It's not a mantra. You don't have to put it on your mirror or something. Once you've said it once, it's a command. Your unconscious now goes, I don't need this. And I think you'll find that that sensation's already gone.
I don't know. I think it's this chair.
Okay, so I'm open for questions and things. Anybody want to ask me anything or?
Just checking on Facebook. 2 seconds.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just if anyone's watching now, if you want to ask. Well, my wife's watching. Am I a pain, Lise? If anybody's got any questions, if you can just put it in the comments and then ask Stephen.
So, I mean, this is my first time on it, so I will talk more in depth and I'll answer questions next time and so on. John, you've got a question.
What about for anxiety?
Anxiety is quite a bit more complex than what I do for pain.
Right.
So when somebody comes for pain, I allow up to an hour. Obviously, if it went into an hour and a half, I'd still do that for the same money. But when I do with anxiety, I call it up to 3 hours. But literally, if somebody needed 8 hours with me, I'd do the 8 hours still for the same money. So it's with anxiety, there's a tendency. I've helped thousands of people, and it's always related to something in childhood. So something happens that makes them lose their self-worth. And the easiest way to get rid of it is to find out what that is, get them to see it as an adult. And when you see it as an adult, it's not as horrendous as when you saw it as a child. So once you can see that, you can actually let go of it and understand that you weren't to blame. Because there's nothing as a child that can make an adult abuse you, that you forced them to do it. And yet so many people get abused, and the abuser will say, I wouldn't have done it except you made me do it because of X, Y, and Z. And then they go throughout their life thinking that. And once I find out what it is, and I point out that you weren't to blame about that in any way, shape, or form, it changes. And it's really interesting with a person, because when it changes, it's almost like they never had anxiety in the first place. They're free of it straight away. And then it's almost like, it's almost laughable to them that, you know, why has my life been screwed up for that?
Yeah.
So that's what I do with anxiety, but it does take a bit more skill and training to do, and certainly a bit more time with them.
Yeah.
But I'm the sort of person that works always in one session. And
Mm.
it's mainly because I don't want to hear half a story and then start it another day and hear another bit of the story, and then I can't remember where I've got with them and that. So I just work through with people until I get them better. I always work like that.
My wife, she suffers from it. So.
Yeah, it's it's a common thing. I've helped people. I think the oldest person I've helped was 82 with anxiety. And she didn't know why she was anxious, but it turned out she was raped when she was 2.
Oh God.
And she told me about this pretty dress she wore. And I was like, whoa, just a minute. We've gone, I was raped when I was 2, and now you're telling me about a pretty dress, as though that doesn't matter. And then I said, did he tell you we raped you because you were wearing a pretty dress? And she said, yes. And I said, well, you know, that's not true, don't you? She said, well, it was a pretty dress. And I had to say, don't be bloody stupid. You're old enough now to realise that at 2 years old, a pretty dress is not enough to make somebody rape you. And as soon as she got that, she changed. And she'd had anxiety all her life, and she'd nearly got to agoraphobic. And agoraphobic, when you can't get out of the house, there's a simple reason people do that. They have an anxiety that gets worse and worse as they get older. And then when they have an anxious attack, they look round and they see things they haven't seen before, and it gets added to the triggers. So what they think is, if I don't go out the house, if I stay somewhere familiar, I won't keep adding more and more triggers to my problem. So yeah, but that's the beauty of my work. When I help people and that goes, it's just the most beautiful thing to see. And people seem to lose about 10 to 20 years off the face. I mean, Gary will tell you, when you hypnotize somebody, they lose about 10 years because all the wrinkles sort of go soft and things, you know. And when you help them, the same happens. It's beautiful.
Could you, Stephen, just briefly explain, like, our unconscious being, you know, they say sort of 90% of our, we're unconscious 90% of the time, and how it kind of ties in with, you know, ultimately what it's trying to do is protect us. So if we're anxious, it's trying to protect us. It's stopping us from doing something. If it's giving us pain, it's trying to protect us from repeating an activity. But just sort of briefly explain how so much of it is just unconscious that we're not even aware of.
You see, what we have is we've got 2 aspects to the mind. If you see it as all one thing rather than 2 separate things, we got the consciousness, and there's the bit we know about and the bit we don't know about. The bit we know about is called the conscious. It holds very little. My telephone number, 1 digit at once, would fill your conscious mind up, and yet that's the thing we think we're clever with. The unconscious mind has 100 trillion data connections that can all talk to each other. So the connections it can make is 100 trillion times 100 trillion times 100 trillion times, which is apparently more than there are atoms in the universe. Now, when we learn something, so you're born with survival skills, you're born with parents to help you survive. Excuse me, I'm a bit of a sore throat today. Now, when you learn something new, it's not easy at first. The first time you had to do cutting in on a skirting board or whatever, you probably made a mess of it.
Or just tape it.
Yeah, or tape
It's an inside joke.
And but now you can literally run the brush down it, and you wonder why you struggled before. But now you've got the muscle memory and everything else, and it all coordinates together. Or catching a ball. I mean, you imagine catching a ball. Somebody's throwing a ball. Your eyes have to calculate how far away it is, what speed it's going at, the wind direction, and everything for you to catch it. And it's done in a split second because it's coming like hell at you, and you can still do it. So we've got this part of you that runs on automatic. And if it didn't run on automatic, we'd all die pretty quick. Because can you imagine thinking, okay, I fancy a chocolate biscuit, right, I'm going to have to move my leg now. I need to move my left leg first. Now I need to get out the chair. Now I need to move my right leg, and I need to get to that cupboard. And you'd be doing all these things. But if you've done it before, now you can walk. Now you can run. Now you can paint. Now you can do all sorts of things. And so you've got those programs running. And anxiety is just a program that thinks it's protecting you, but it isn't. And like with pain, pain thinks it's protecting you. It's going, well, let me give you pain to show you've got arthritis. Well, can't you just remember you've got arthritis and then you don't need the pain? So I make it really simple for it to say, oh, well, if you can remember that, I don't need to give you any pain then. And it really is as simple as that. And anxiety is this thing where something's happened in the past. Now imagine somebody beat you up one day and there was a heavily flowered curtains on the wall and you'd never seen heavily flowered curtains before. You'd now have a phobia of heavily flowered curtains. But you wouldn't match the two up. You wouldn't say, oh, that was on the wall when I got beaten up that time. You just have this terrible uneasy feeling. And you go, I don't know what it is. I come in here and it feels horrible. And that can be for anything, you know, brass buckles, brass buttons. I mean, all sorts of different things. And it's why people have these strange phobias. And you think, but that would never harm you. But it's not that. It's just a trigger of a memory that had that in it. And you might have 5 triggers from the same event. You know, there might be the patterned curtains, the brass buckle on a belt, all sorts of different things. And when the brain goes, oh, it's happening again, it puts you into a thing called fight or flight, where it gets you ready to run or fight somebody. And it goes, well, last time you didn't do very well. You weren't ready for it. So when they attacked you, you just let them beat the crap out of you. But this time you're going to be ready. And you're either going to run off quickly. So I'm going to keep you hyper alert. Now, here's the problem. It's the same as pain with that alarm that's running half level. If you've got somebody that's anxious all the time at this level, they don't notice triggers that say, I'm putting myself in danger because they're already up here. So when somebody does something here, they don't notice it. They don't notice it. And then suddenly it's a level 6. And suddenly they've got to run for their life. So the idea is your body thinks, well, I've got you prepared to run, but you're like that every minute of the bloody day. And so you're burning that energy up and you're about worn out. And this is why people get fibromyalgia and all sorts of things, because they're constantly in that hyper mode. And it can give you autoimmune diseases. And it's a horrendous way to live. We've got to learn to chill out a bit in between. We've got to learn to work to earn a living, not live to work. And we've got to have a balance of time out and things. I don't take my own advice quite often. And when I don't, I get this thing called vertigo. Now, it's nothing to do with heights. Vertigo is when you get out of balance. Your ears, some wax forms in your ears or something. And there's supposed to be a fluid goes around like a spirit level bubble. And when this wax builds up, it tries to do the spirit level bubble and it goes round and it gets caught on something. So it thinks you're over here. And so you correct yourself and you fall over. And I get that when my life's out of balance. So your unconscious will try and tell you. So it goes, well, if I put you out of balance, you might recognize you're out of balance with your life. Yeah. And so it's things like that. That's what I'm always looking for. What part of your body's hurting? What might that mean? We've got lots of expressions like, has he got your back? They're a pain in the arse. We've got all those sorts of expressions. Now, I don't know what came first, but I think it was literally a description of whenever you're around that person, you literally get a pain in the arse. Yeah. And that's all I'm looking for. I'm looking when somebody tells me the story. So if I get into a conversation with them, they give the story away really easy. If I ask questions, I'm sort of directing them and they don't give me the answers I want. So I just have a conversation and then it leads down various paths. And then I try a few paths. And then I might tell them a story of somebody I've worked on. And that will pop into my head without any prompting from me. And I might not have told that story ever before. And then that person goes, oh, I think mine is. And it's triggered them off to take me down another avenue. So there's something wonderful about working with people where I don't know what happens, but it's almost like you can mind read each other. if you've got compassion for people and you're working with them, there's something magical happens between two people where you want to help them, you want them out of pain, and then the magic happens. It's just incredible.
That's brilliant, Stephen. And like you said earlier about when you used to pretend you were sick, at school and stuff. It's so important how you speak to yourself as well, as to how your well-being is as well. So if you're constantly saying, "Oh, I'm an idiot," or "I'm no good at X, Y, Z," or if your unconscious is like a genie, it's going to deliver what you're asking for constantly. So it's important that you talk to yourself like you would your best friend.
Yeah, and not many people can do that. It's very unfortunate. I had a woman came to see me once, and it's one of these events where I had a little sort of tent thing, and she was really nervous. I could tell she was really nervous. And 3 of her friends pushed her in my little booth I got and went, "Have a chat with him," and then they left her with me. And I said, "What's the problem?" She said, "Nobody likes me." I went, "Oh, you can't say that." She said, "What?" I said, "You can't say that." She said, "Why can't I say that?" I said, "Well, I like you and I've only just met you." So in the future, if you want to say that, you have to say, "Nobody likes me apart from this guy called Stephen I met once." You've got to say that from now on. And she went, "Oh my God, do I have to say that?" I said, "Yeah, because I say so." She went, and I said, "You just got 3 friends who like you so much that they pushed you in here to help you get some treatment. So that's 4 people. So you're lying to me and I don't like it." "Oh, well, I don't think." I said, "It doesn't matter what you think."
Isn't that crazy? That just be an old program in her unconscious, probably from when she was 5 or whatever, when it's all installed.
It was a strange one because I nearly got her to have a treatment. I spent about 10-15 minutes with her. I nearly won around. And like you've got a customer and you think, "Oh yeah, they're going to go for it." And then they go, "Well, I'll think about it." She did that. And I was upset for 2 days. I came away thinking I could have helped that woman, and I didn't because I didn't say do the right thing. A year later, I'm at the same event, and she comes up and she goes, "Remember me?" I go, "Yes, you're Wendy, aren't you?" She went, "Yes." She said, "I'm ready for a treatment now." And she had a treatment with me. Made my day. And she comes and sees me every year, and it's been going on for about 5 years now. She comes and hugs me profoundly. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's just fabulous.
Has anybody got any other questions?
Or just one more. What happens if you just ask them and they keep repeatedly say, "I don't know"?
I never get that answer.
Right. Well, I've been trying for 30 odd years.
No, what I say to people is briefly tell me what the problem is. I'm not asking them for the answer. Briefly tell me what the problem is. And they say, "Well, I've got a back problem. I've had it for 3 years. I've been to the doctors with it." And I go, "Well, did the x-ray now? There's nothing shows up on the x-ray." And I go, "What happened around that time? Was there something in your life that was not very good?" So I just shut the window. "Was there something happening around that time that was a bit traumatic for you?" And then they go, "Well, my dad died." And I go, "Ah." And it just comes out. This is why I say I have a conversation. If I say things like, "Well, tell me what it is," you don't know. You don't know what it is. You might do, but you're more likely to just give me a fairly bland answer. "Well, I just hurt myself one day. I twisted a bit." But as soon as I get you into a chat and I tell you stories and things, then it goes, "Oh, well, I had something like that." And then it all comes running out. So it's really good. I train people. So, of course, I get those sort of questions all the time. What if? And I trained somebody about 3 months ago, and this woman sent me a lovely note the next day. And she said, "Stephen, how you get stories from people is just absolutely amazing. Thank you for teaching me that. It's so simple, but it can't be that simple. Can you direct me to some books and videos?" And I just wrote one word back, "No." It is that simple. It literally is that simple. And if you expect them to give you answers, they give you answers. And if you think they're going to be awkward, they're going to be awkward. It's always the same. It's our attitude affects the client so much. And we all know people who don't do very well in your work because they're such miserable buggers that when they go on price work, the client doesn't take to them, doesn't trust them. They might be excellent painters, but they just don't trust them. They don't think they'll show up. They sound a bit rough. I had somebody fit some double glazing the other week, and they didn't finish off. They didn't clean the windows, and then the boss came round. And he said, well, when he came the other day and cleaned your windows, I said he didn't. He pulled up on the driveway. He snarled at me. He never said hello. He never came in the house. He left the apprentice there for 2 hours and he came back and fixed him. And he went, well, we're all used to him. He's just a bit grumpy. If you get to know him, I said, I don't need to get to know him. He was fitting me bloody windows. It's not my job to get to know him. If you send him out and he's grumpy with your customers, sack him. Get rid of the bugger.
It's also with certain jobs, like as decorators years ago, when I just started out, I'd look at jobs and it'd be a big, massive house. And I'd be like, oh, I'm not going to get it. I've only been decorating a year or so and I never got them. And of course, a lot comes with experience. But if you go in expecting to get a job, your body's going to radiate it. Whereas if you've got negativity and you're like doubtful, it's going to show up. They're going to pick up with subconsciously. So it can affect just your whole life, how you speak to yourself. And
but when I first started doing this, I literally stopped people in the street and said, are you in pain? And they'd say, yeah. And I'd go, have you got 10 minutes? They go, what are you going to do? I'm going to talk to you. What's it going to cost? Nothing. And I talk to them for 10 minutes and they walk away waving crutches and things, free of pain. Now, people say, well, it's all right for you. You're confident. I started that. I didn't know it would work. I'd worked on me. And then I started working on other people. But there wasn't a moment where I didn't expect it to work. So it's not about being confident it will work. It's not having that fear that it won't work. Because that's what holds you back. And charging decent money. This would be good for you. And my niece got in touch and she said she's having a cash flow problem. And I said, no, you aren't. She said, what? She said, I've got a cash flow problem. I said, no, you haven't. She said, why? I said, you've been in business 5 years. If people were slow paying you, you'd have some money to one side. You wouldn't have a cash flow problem. She said, well, and she came around with all the books and that. And I used to teach people how to go self-employed. She came around with all these books and I told her how to ask for money. So I said, what do you charge? She said, I charge £300 a day. She's a photographer in London. Does industrial interiors and house interiors and things like that. Very good at what she does. And I said, so you get £300 a day and do you work every day of the week? She said, well, it's £300 a day while I'm on the photo shoot. But I do the photo shoot. The next day I get all the photos and print them. And then I have another day where I go back and give them the photos. I said, oh, so you're on £100 a day? She went, oh, I am on that. And I went, yeah. So I said to her, look, when you ask for money, just go quiet. Don't join in with them or do anything. Just ask for a certain amount of money and do it. And she said, well, sometimes I don't know what to ask for. And I said, well, you're in the magazine industry. There must be a going rate for something. So if somebody says, how much do you want? You just say, I assume you pay the going rate. Now, they're too embarrassed to say, oh, no, we always pay below that. So they go, yeah. And so she went to this job and she was pricing it up. And the guy said, well, what about 4? Will 4 be all right? So she thought it's 400. So she goes, I'm not sure. And he goes, well, 5. That's as high as I'm going. She said, well, all right then. He said, £5,000 it is. You got £5,000 for this bloody job. And she said she had to hide her delight because it was like, oh, what? So it's just really just having the balls to ask for the thing. You see, lots of people think you have to be the cheapest. You don't have to be the cheapest. I used to be a plumber and then I did building work and joinery work and that. And when I went out there, people who had plumbing work done for me would say, well, can you just take 2 inches off the bottom of the door for the carpet? And I'd go, well, you need a joiner. And they go, I trust you more than I do getting a joiner in. You know, once you've got you've been to somebody's house and they trust you and they like you, you know, they're okay with you doing almost anything, because there's so many arseholes out there. There are so many bad tradespeople out there. I just renovated this house. I had 3 lots of people in to do things. Double glazing, air source heat pump. I had to have somebody else in to do it. And one other thing. And all of them, I'm having to get other people in to bloody mend it, even though I've paid for it in the first place. And for me, who can do most things myself, it's really frustrating. Yeah. So just be good. Go out there and do things. Charge what you want to charge, and you'll get that sort of reputation for that. It'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you think about it, charge twice as much. You only need half the work. So if it drops your work by 1/3, you're still winning, and you get time off. This is it.
Stephen, you need to do a masterclass on charging as well, mate.
Well, that's what I did 7.5 years of teaching people how to run their own business.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to come on and do that as well another time.
That'd be brilliant. Well, I believe we've taken enough of your time, Stephen. It's been a pleasure. Really grateful for you to come on. I know you're, you know, in the hypnotherapy world, known worldwide, you know, and respected, and it's just great that you've come on and done some treatments for free, you know, for these guys. I'll be interested to speak to them tomorrow and see how
they get on. Let me know. All right then. Take
Good
care,
stuff.
everybody.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
very much for your time. Appreciate it. It's very interesting.